Hey everybody, Sprocket here again. So, still on this fender. The sun is not helping people to be able to see it, but that's what it looks like on the car. Now, what I've been working on is fitting, well, here, let's see if we can zoom in a little. There we go. That seam right there. I'll tell you good, I'm getting really good at pulling this fender and putting it back on. So what I'm working on is trying to get the spacing correct so that it's got a nice body line, not only just here to here so the gap is pretty even, but also it's going to be hard to see. Hang on. Yeah, it is going to be really hard to see, but basically make sure it doesn't have a step one way or the other, whether the door is further out than the fender or vice versa. And I tell you what, that's hard, especially considering everything has been worked on, you know, and of course things are a little warped compared to what they used to be. So this, when it's sitting all the way in, it's still out a little bit. The door's in just a tick, but things are going to change again when I actually fully bolt it in, because there's still 2 bolts on the bottom that I haven't put in. So it's going to change the way this thing sits, because I think the where the mounting surface is like this, and I think the fender is a little bit like this. So when I go to tighten everything together, it's going to bring this up, which is going to bow this out just a tiny bit more, which is kind of what I need for it to line up correctly. So I still have to do something with the core support as far as paint, but I'm trying to get all of my fitment issues taken care of first. I had to loosen the door back up. I thought I had the door set pretty good, but I had to loosen the hinges on the door side of things to be able to push the door in further so it would line up right with the fender. So now I kind of have the front right, but the back, I don't know if you're going to be able to see, yeah, steps in now. But I also took notice up here, it's the same thing, this is in further, so all I should have to do then is the same thing on this one, but bring it out a little bit. Part that sucks is the bottom is correct, so I think I just have to bring the top out some, because the bottom lines up nice. So I think I just need to bring the top out. Bad part is this line's pretty darn close. Whatever. Anyway, it's never going to be perfect, and I don't intend to try and make it perfect. I just want to make it decent, so that things fit and they don't rub when you open the doors. So yeah, just wanted to let you know what I was working on as far as that goes. Plus, I think it looks pretty good, you know, at least, you know, no bare metal. I'm still not sure. I'm kind of on the fence. I really do want to have the trim line be an actual parting line. The only way I'm going to be able to do that, though, is to try and match this color, which is going to be hard to do. Especially try and match the fade. Because I love, which you can't see on this camera, at least not very well, there's all the little cracks and everything because of age and ultraviolet damage from the sun, which just adds the whole patina look. Regardless. Oh, something I did off camera, which again is going to be hard to see in this light, but I did get this all cleaned up inside there. Wow, that sun's bright. Gonna block out a little bit. But either way, I got this front lip done and cleaned up and primered, so I got most of the rust off of there. So that part, for the most part, is ready to go. I still got a lot of work to do, but see, this is why body work is so expensive because it is very, very time consuming. Most of body work is labor. It is not materials. Now, your newer cars, yeah, stuff's expensive. Well, even some of these older cars, but most of it, like I said, is labor. Because trying to get stuff to fit right is no easy task. Anyway, I'm sure there will be more. Alright, so this is the other fender. Maybe you can tell. Don't have near as much work to do on this one, so that's kind of nice. I got some holes in here I got to patch up. You can see the previous patch that was done. Of course, that's why I had to remove all the Bondo, because they just smeared it full. So I think what I'm going to do, this bottom edge is in pretty sorry shape right in here. So I'm going to cut this out up into here. Maybe do like an L shape kind of thing. You know, put this bend in it, and then I just got this little curve I got to put into it. That's probably going to be the easiest way to do it. Sad part is, their patch already has a hole in it too, so it's obviously wasn't done right. But otherwise, it's just a little rough up here. So I just got a bunch of sanding and cleaning to do, priming it up a little bit. Right there, you can see there's a little bit of bubbling I got to take care of. Basically underneath where the trim sits on here. And then up here I got a dent. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of room. In fact, the brace goes all the way up in behind this, so that's going to be a trick. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to it, but I'm going to try. Got some pitting real good right up in here on the edge. So all I'm going to do right there is just sand it real good. Oop, got another dent right there, which nope, I got no access to that at all. So that one's just going to be what it is. This one, I might be able to get to it. There's a hole back in here in the brace and one down here. So I might be able to get something long up in there to kind of pop that up a little bit. But yeah, like I said, not a whole lot going on this one, except I think, I don't know if that's metal or if that's actually Bondo. That's a good question. I'm going to have to find out. Hopefully it's metal and not Bondo. But either way, like I said, this one here is just going to be a bunch of sanding for the most part. I already popped out this here. There's a real nasty gouge in. So I got most of it to come out. Now, the metal's already stretched, so it's not going to be perfect. This here, I don't know if you can see in the light all the little waves in it, but this was all smashed in, so I got that to come out the best I could. I might do something with this right here, because that's just maybe a little strip, you know, a little patch right there, just to close that up. But yeah, this one mostly is just going to be sanded smooth, paint it, call it good, except for the main rot back here and little pieces here and there. So show you more in a minute. Alright, so as you can see, I've got pretty much all the metal patched in that I'm going to patch in. It's just tacked in for now. It looks bad now, but at least I was able to get the curves more or less the same this time versus the other one where this just flattened out on me. But I did it in pieces because that was going to be a lot easier. Plus I could leave gaps, and you know, when I weld it up, because every time you weld something it wants to pull things together when it cools. So that's why part of the reason you always want to leave a gap in between where you're welding. You can see it here, see the shadow. So that's going to be all I'm doing tonight. So we'll see you tomorrow. Alright, so it's next day. As you can see, I've got this all tacked up. Sorry about the lighting, it's getting dark outside. And if I turn the light on right here next to it, it's going to be too bright for you to see. So all I got left to do is to grind down the weld, smooth things out, and then probably going to have to do some shaping, because I think it seems like between here and here it dipped on me, which is what I was saying. Metal will tend to pull together, and of course in this case it went down when it did that. You know, when you weld it, it pulls itself together. So yeah, I'll show you what it looks like after I get it ground down. Alright, sorry about the glare, but I was trying to get some better light on this situation. But there it is, all ground down. It ain't the greatest, but it is better than the other side. But it's good enough for who it's for, me. So I also did 4 spot welds like I did on the other side, because I had to replace this bottom piece. It's kind of hard to see, but clamped that down, got those drilled and spot welded. So for the most part, now all I got left is a bunch of sanding, and then get this one primered up and ready to go. Alright, something I wanted to mention, I don't know if I have in the past or not, but anytime you are sanding on an old vehicle, now granted, again, I know this thing doesn't focus, but you can see the different colors. Alright, so when you do, or sanding on an old car, there's going to be multiple layers, whether it's been repainted a couple of times, or in this case a bunch of body work and repainted. So there's going to be multiple layers that you're sanding through, so anytime you get down to bare steel, you're going to have to try and feather that, as assuming you're not taking everything down to bare steel. So you can always feel, I mean, it's very subtle, but you can feel when you've got a good transition and when you don't, because when you don't, you'll feel like a little bump when you slide over it. So basically what I'm doing with this is smoothing things out until I don't feel those bumps anymore. That, and to fix where I was using my, where is it, yeah, that thing, flap disc, because that thing is very aggressive, so it leaves all kinds of grooves and stuff, especially considering, relatively speaking, how thick this stuff is. Not the metal, but the actual coating, because there's body filler, paint, there's a bunch of stuff on here. But like I said, I wanted to make sure I mentioned that, so if one of you guys out there is sanding on an old vehicle, that's how you're going to know you're going to have a smooth transition that way. So when you paint over the whole thing, or in my case where you're just kind of painting up to it, but in this area I'm probably going to paint the whole thing, but you want a smooth transition to where you can't feel that little hump. So you know you got a smooth transition. It's not going to show up in the paint you put on afterward, because trust me on this one, if there's any kind of hump here, you will see it in whatever you paint. Okay, I know I said I wasn't going to do anything with this gouge over here. It's the back side of the fender, but I found an access point, so I said, what the heck, I got most of it out. Now it's a little bit up right now, just like that one that's buried right now underneath all my tools is in, because excuse me, the metal is stretched, and back here it's kind of in here, and then it comes up a little, and of course there's still a little dent right here. I just wasn't able to get out. But again, this is the point where you guys out there that like Bondo would put a bunch of Bondo on it and smooth it out, where I'm not going to do that. So I also was able, which you can't even see because of the angle, hang on, yeah, here we go, there was a dent here that was in. I was actually able to get to it from the back. I just used the round end of the ball peen over there and just kind of tapped from the back. One thing I found when you are popping dents out and stuff like that is a flat sanding block of some kind is your best friend. Now I'm just using this thing, okay? So what you do is, while you're pounding on stuff and you're trying to reshape it, every once in a while you go over it with that, and it'll show you where the high and low spots are. Of course, the shiny spots are going to be the high spots. It helps you to determine, if you, because you're always going to have a tool on the back side of it, where to put that tool, and where to hammer, because your shiny spots is where you want to hammer because they're high. And you put the tool in the low spot to try and pop it up as you're popping, using the hammer to put the stuff around it down. Whew! That's hard to explain. But, again, OCD kicked in up here. I'd previously fixed this. Okay? Because this was all crunched in. I know I mentioned that earlier. But, I figured, so I was messing with that stuff back there, I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can make this a little better. And I actually was able to. So, you can see the few brown spots in there. That's all the low spots. That's, of course, rust. But, I don't know how well, yeah, you can see there's like a chunk missing out of it here. I got a little bit of welding to do to fill that material in and then smooth it out. But, was also able to make this front edge a little straighter. So, yeah. And something else too, when you're dealing with metal like this that doesn't really have a whole lot of flat spots, tools help. You know, using the orbital, there it is laying on the floor, block sander, but all of these are all going to have a flat surface, so they're going to go over any low spots. So as you can see, these dark spots, these are all low spots, mostly from people grinding, whether it was me or whether it was the people before me, who knows. But this is where either using, I think they're called a sponge, but basically it's squishy and it's sandpaper. You can use that to get it inside in and out all the crevices. But me, I just do it by hand, using just a piece of sandpaper, and my fingers are what go in and out of all of the small crevices. Now, I've only gone over this with the 80 grit. I still got some work to do, because you can see in here still got paint with nothing there, except back here you can see I started working on it. But I got to smooth all that out, and all these little dark spots are rust. I want to try and get those back down to bare metal. Right here, same thing. Because my goal, oh, I don't know if I showed you this before. Got a crack right here I need to weld up. The previous body people welded this whole hole because apparently it was gone. So what you see right there that's all shiny is weld. It's not the original material. So I've been attempting to smooth that out. Now, because this thing won't focus, you might be able to see how thick that is right there. Because like I said, that's all weld. But I got to fix this, and then you can see I got some rust there. All of this I still have to sand, so not done with this video yet. I know it's going to be a long time coming by the time I'm done with it, but the end result is it'll look more like that one, you know, primed. Alright, so just a word of caution, if any of you out there are doing hand sanding, okay, you're not sandblasting, you're not chemical stripping, but you're just sanding things so you can prep it for paint, be prepared. These curves and everything in here, yeah, you have to do them. You can't do them with sanding block because obviously they're curved. So be prepared to get really strong fingers, or just really tired. So this might be a little hard to see, but I started working on this front edge. You can see I got shiny spots it's reflecting. As far as sanding it down, and up on the front here, which I don't know if I showed you, but I'll show you later. There's a bunch of Bondo up here that was cracked, so I had to sand that down too. So naturally, when I was sanding on this, the OCD kicked in, and I didn't like my previous repair because, you know, remember I said I had this whole center brace out of here because this whole corner was mangled in, so I pulled it out in order to be able to straighten it up. So I didn't like the way I had it, especially right here in this corner, which is really hard to see, but it was still a little tweaked, and this was tapered and went like this and then kind of got bigger as it came down, and I didn't like that. I also took notice that this inner piece, there was like an 1/8 inch gap between this and this, so hence why it's now welded. But like I said, part of the reason this video is taking so long to put out is because this stuff is very time consuming and laborious, meaning a lot of labor. Like I said previously, bodywork is mostly labor when you're talking to cost. But that's why it's taking so long to put this video out. So hopefully soon I'll be done sanding, and then I can prime this, call it good, start test fitting. Yeah, damage wise, this fender was definitely in worse shape than the other one. That one had worse rust problems, so it's 6 of one, half dozen the other as far as what's taking so long. So I'm finally done sanding. I know I said earlier, went ahead and fixed this thing, so this front edge, this corner is in a lot better shape. As you can see, I already painted the inside there because I finished sanding that first, so that way it's just this. Wow, that's really bright. Let's see if we can get a better angle here. Oh hey, that might be a little better. So all I got left to do is just clean it up, paint it up, let it dry. Alright, first coat on. As you can see, it's kind of blotchy looking because what I like to do is just put kind of a dusting on there to give the rest of it something to stick to better. But as you can see, it's already looking a lot better. Not all that extra metal and Bondo and everything else that you used to be able to see. Not anymore. Alright, got our last coat of paint on it. See if I can get some shadows where you can see that. Yeah, you can just so see all the roughness right there. Of course, that was where it was all dented in and I had to reshape it. Down here I did some repairs, but when it's painted, you ain't seeing that much. Got all the way around in the inside here where the trim sits, so make sure that's going to be sealed. I don't know if I showed you. The stuff that I'm using is Rust-Oleum Primer Sealer. So hopefully the areas that still had a little bit of pitting, things of that nature, like right there, you can kind of, yep, there it is. Hopefully this will stop that from continuing and getting worse. Now, a regular body guy would probably choose to wet sand this and then get some filler out, but not I. I don't like filler, which I've gone through extensively. I'm not going to go over it again. But so all I gotta do is let that dry and then onto the car to fit it up, make sure everything works like it's supposed to, and then gotta take them both back off and clean up that rad support and get some paint on it so it doesn't get any more rusty. But that is where I'm going to leave this one. Again, I know it's a long time coming. It's been like 3 weeks or something like that, but again, body work is very slow and tedious, especially when you're trying to do it without doing filler. So anyway, thanks for watching. Until next time, have a good one.